Don't overlook your pennies. The 1990, 2001, and 2010 Lincoln cents may look ordinary, but some carry rare minting errors and unique varieties that make them worth far more than a single cent. Collectors pay big money, sometimes hundreds or even thousands of dollars, for the right ones. Always check your pennies carefully. You might be holding hidden treasure. The 1991 cent penny might look like an ordinary coin to most people, but in the world of coin collecting, certain examples of this year hide secrets that can make them worth thousands of dollars. At face value, it's just a Lincoln Memorial cent, the kind most Americans have seen in their change countless times. But hidden within the mintage of 1990 are rare error coins that collectors dream of finding, errors that transform this simple piece of copper-plated zinc into a highly valuable treasure. For those who understand the history and know what to look for, the 1990 penny is far more than pocket change. It's a small piece of American minting history with a story that continues to captivate collectors today. To understand why the 1990 penny is so interesting, let's first look at what was happening at the U.S. Mint during that time. The Lincoln cent, first issued in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, had already been in production for over 80 years by 1990. The design featured Victor David Brenner's portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and, since 1959, Frank Gasparo's depiction of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Billions of these coins were struck every year, and by 1990, pennies had become so common that many people barely noticed them. Yet in this sea of ordinary coins, mistakes slipped through, errors that would later capture the attention of numismatists everywhere. One of the most famous error types from the 1990 penny is the no-S proof cent. To explain this, you need to know a little about how proof coins are made. Proofs are specially struck coins intended for collectors, not for circulation. They're made with polished dies and planchets, often struck multiple times to create a sharp, mirror-like finish. Proof coins are struck at the San Francisco Mint and traditionally bear the S mint mark beneath the date. But in 1990, a small number of proof cents were mistakenly struck without the S. Instead of showing 1990s, the coins simply read 1990. This missing mint mark error created one of the most famous and valuable modern proof cents ever discovered. When collectors found out about the 1990 no-S proof cents, the numismatic world erupted in excitement. Here was a modern coin produced in the millions, but with only a small fraction carrying this dramatic error. For collectors of proof coinage and error coins alike, the 1990 no-S became a must-have rarity. Its fame grew quickly, and auction houses began reporting impressive sales. Some examples sold for several $1,000s, with pristine, high-grade specimens bringing in even more. In fact, one 1990 no-S proof penny-graded PR69 Deep Cameo by PCGS sold at auction for more than $20,000, making it one of the most valuable modern pennies ever. But the no-S proof isn't the only error that makes the 1990 penny so intriguing. There are also circulation strike errors that can dramatically increase the coin's value. For example, off-center strikes from 1990, where the coin was not properly seated in the press, can sell for anywhere from $50 to several $100s depending on how dramatic the misalignment is. The most desirable examples show a large portion of the blank planchet along with a clear, visible date. These are not only visually striking but also highly collectible. Another error type to look out for is the double die. While not as famous as the 1955 or 1972 double die cents, some 1990 pennies show minor doubling on the obverse, particularly in the date or lettering. Collectors are always drawn to double dies because they represent a clear mechanical mistake during the hubbing process, and while values for minor doubling might only reach $20 to $50, dramatic examples could sell for much more. Clipped planchet errors are another possibility. These occur when the metal strip used to punch out blanks overlaps slightly, cutting out an incomplete blank that's missing a crescent-shaped piece. A 1990 penny with a clean clipped planchet error could bring $30 to $100 depending on size and condition. Similarly, broadstrike errors, where the coin was struck without the retaining collar and spread out wider than normal, can also add value, often in the $40 to $200 range. The fascinating thing about the 1990 penny is how many different types of errors and varieties exist. For example, transitional errors occasionally occur when a coin is struck using planchets intended for a different denomination. Imagine a 1990 penny struck on a dime planchet. Such a coin would be thinner, lighter, and silvery in color rather than copper. These wrong planchet errors are rare, but when they show up, they can bring thousands of dollars at auction. The demand for the 1990 penny skyrockets when these coins appear in high-grade condition. Collectors love coins that retain their original red luster, free from blemishes and spots. A regular 1990 penny in pristine mint state 67 red condition might sell for $100 to $300, far above its 1 cent face value. But when you combine high-grade condition with a dramatic error like the no-S proof or a major off-center strike, that's when the values really soar. At auction, certain rare varieties of the 1990 penny have brought in amounts ranging from $5,000 to over $20,000, proving just how coveted these coins can be. The 1990 penny also sits at an interesting point in U.S. mint history. By this time, pennies were being struck on copper-plated zinc planchets, a composition that had been introduced in 1982 to replace the traditional bronze alloy. Collectors often note that these copper-plated zinc cents are prone to corrosion and spotting, making high-grade survivors even more desirable. That fragility adds another layer of rarity for pristine error examples from 1990. Stories of dramatic discoveries only add to the mystique of the 1990 penny. One famous tale involves a collector who purchased a proof set from 1990 and noticed something odd. The penny inside had no mint mark. That coin turned out to be one of the legendary no-S proofs, a coin now worth thousands of dollars. Another story tells of a roll searcher who came across an off-center 1990 penny with nearly half the design missing. A piece later sold to a collector for several $100s. These discoveries remind us that even modern coins, often overlooked, can hide incredible treasures. For the average person, the lesson is clear. Never dismiss a penny without taking a closer look. If you see a 1990 cent, check for errors. Does the coin lack a mint mark when it should have one? Does the design look misaligned or doubled? Is the coin missing part of its edge? Or does it seem unusually thin or wide? Each of these traits could indicate a valuable mint error. And while most 1990 pennies are worth only a cent, the rare errors can transform them into small fortunes. Auction results provide proof of this value. A 1990 no-S proof cent in top condition sold for over $20,000. Off-center strikes have realized prices from $200 to $500, depending on condition. A high-grade mint state 1990 penny with no errors at all has even sold for several $100s, showing how much collectors are willing to pay for perfection. And when it comes to wrong planchet errors, the sky is the limit, with some examples crossing the $5,000 mark. In the broader context of U.S. coin collecting, the 1990 penny represents the continued appeal of modern error coins. While older rarities like the 1909 SVDB penny or the 1955 double die cent get much of the spotlight, coins like the 1990 no-S proof show that valuable errors still occurred even in recent decades. These modern rarities are often more accessible to new collectors, since they can sometimes still be found in proof sets, coin rolls, or even circulation if you're lucky. The 1990 penny reminds us that minting errors are a window into the complexities of coin production. Despite all the technology, precision, and quality control measures at the mint, mistakes still happen. And when they do, they sometimes create pieces of history that collectors prize for generations. These errors aren't just accidents. They're stories, frozen in metal, of how even the smallest slip can create something extraordinary. So, the next time you're sifting through change or examining a penny in a proof set, take a moment to look closely at the 1990 cents. One small detail could mean the difference between a coin worth a penny and a coin worth thousands. It could be the missing S, a dramatic off-center strike, a clipped planchet, or a double die. Each one of these errors transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. That's the magic of the 1990 penny. It shows that even in the modern era, with billions of coins produced every year, treasures still exist, waiting to be discovered by someone with a sharp eye and a bit of curiosity. From a single cent to tens of thousands of dollars, the journey of the 1990 penny is proof that sometimes the smallest coins carry the biggest surprises. The 2001 1-cent penny may seem like nothing more than ordinary pocket change to most people. After all, billions of them were struck at the United States Mint, and they've been passed through countless hands in everyday transactions. But hidden within those billions are rare minting mistakes that transformed a coin worth only 1 cent into a collector's treasure that can sell for hundreds, thousands, and sometimes tens of thousands of dollars at major auctions. These coins are part of what makes coin collecting so fascinating, the thrill of finding something extraordinary in the most ordinary of places. The 2001 Lincoln cent is one such coin, and the error varieties discovered from that year have made it a target for treasure hunters everywhere. To understand why the 2001 penny is so intriguing, we need to take a step back and look at the coin's history. The Lincoln cent has been in circulation since 1909, when it replaced the Indian head cent designed by Victor David Brenner. The obverse featured Abraham Lincoln, the first real person ever depicted on a U.S. coin. This choice was deeply symbolic, honoring the centennial of Lincoln's birth. By 2001, the design had already been in use for over 90 years, though the reverse had changed in 1959 from the wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial design created by Frank Gasparo. That design depicted the iconic monument in Washington, D.C., with the tiny statue of Lincoln visible between the memorial's columns. The reverse would remain until 2009, when the Mint celebrated Lincoln's bicentennial with special issues, but in 2001, the memorial cent was still in full production. The Philadelphia and Denver mints struck billions of pennies in 2001, mostly on zinc planchets coated with a thin layer of copper. Since 1982, pennies have no longer been composed of nearly pure copper. Instead, they are about 97.5% zinc with just 2.5% copper plating. This change made them cheaper to produce, but it also made them more prone to certain types of errors. With a soft zinc core and delicate copper coating, mistakes during the minting process often produce dramatic results. The errors from 2001 that attract collectors come in many forms. One of the most sought-after types are off-center strikes. This happens when a blank planchet is not properly centered in the press and the dies strike it in the wrong position. Sometimes only a small portion of the design is missing, but in more dramatic examples, as much as 50% or more of the coin can be blank. These coins are fascinating because they look so unusual, and they can sell for anywhere between $50 and $500 depending on how much of the design is missing and whether the date remains visible. A 2001 penny with the date still intact and struck about 40% off-center can easily bring $150 or more from collectors eager to add it to their error collection. Another common error from 2001 is the double die. Double dies occur during the creation of the dies themselves, when the hub impressing the design shifts slightly between strikes, leaving behind double details. On some 2001 pennies, this doubling can be seen on the inscriptions "Liberty" or "In God We Trust," though most varieties are relatively minor. However, double die cents from earlier years like 1955 and 1972 proved how much collectors love these mistakes. If a dramatic double die penny from 2001 were to surface, especially in high grades, it could command thousands of dollars. Minor varieties typically sell for $25 to $100 depending on condition, but the excitement of discovering one keeps collectors searching rolls of 2001 pennies even today. Clipped planchets are another type of error found in 2001 pennies. These occur when the blank metal discs are punched too close to the edge of a strip, leaving the coin with a curved crescent-shaped cut. A small clip might sell for $10 to $25. While larger and more dramatic clips can bring $50 to $100. Coins with multiple clips or those combined with other errors are even more desirable. For example, a 2001 penny with both an off-center strike and a clipped planchet has sold for more than $300 because of its unusual appearance. Perhaps the most dramatic errors are wrong planchet strikes. These occur when a penny is struck on a blank intended for another denomination, such as a dime or even a foreign coin. Because the planchets are the wrong size or composition, the resulting coin is instantly recognizable as unusual. A 2001 penny struck on a dime planchet is smaller and has the silvery color of a dime instead of the typical copper appearance. These errors are extremely rare, and when certified by a grading service, they can sell for thousands. One example of a Lincoln cent from the early 2000s struck on a dime planchet sold for more than $5,000 at auction. If a 2001 example were to appear in a major sale, it could easily reach that level or higher. Die breaks and cuds also add excitement to 2001 pennies. Over time, the dies used to strike coins wear out and sometimes crack. When a piece of the die actually breaks away, the resulting coin shows a raised blob of metal, often referred to as a cud. These errors vary greatly in size, with small die cracks adding only a few dollars in value, while large cuds covering significant portions of the design can sell for $100 to $300. Collectors love these because no two are exactly alike. They're essentially unique accidents of the minting process. But it's when these errors appear in pristine condition that the real excitement begins. Coins graded in mint state condition, especially those with brilliant red luster, can be worth many times more than circulated examples. In fact, some of the most valuable 2001 era pennies ever sold achieved prices over $10,000 at auction, depending on the type of mistake and the grade. The auction scene has highlighted just how valuable these errors can be, with dramatic pieces fetching staggering sums. Collectors pay attention when coins like this appear because they know how rarely they surface. What makes the 2001 penny so interesting is that it came from an era when the US Mint was producing billions of coins each year, yet mistakes still managed to slip through. In a time when technology and quality control were supposed to be better than ever, the fact that such dramatic errors still occurred makes these coins even more fascinating. For collectors, they serve as a reminder that no process is perfect, and sometimes those imperfections lead to treasures hiding in plain sight. The public's fascination with error coins has only grown in recent years, thanks in part to stories of rare pennies being worth small fortunes. News headlines often tell people to check their change, sparking renewed interest in coins like the 2001 cent. Imagine the thrill of realizing that a coin you thought was worth only a penny might actually be worth $500, $5,000, or even $15,000 in the right circumstances. That possibility drives people to examine every coin that passes through their hands. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents often include error varieties as highlights of their sets. While the regular 2001 penny is common and inexpensive, the error varieties transform it into something rare and desirable. This contrast between ordinary and extraordinary is part of what makes coin collecting such an engaging hobby. It's not just about the metal or the design. It's about the stories behind each coin, the accidents that made them unique, and the thrill of finding them. Even today, more than 20 years after the 2001 penny was minted, collectors are still searching bank rolls and coin jars for error varieties. The double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and wrong planchet errors continue to hold their value, and when high-grade examples appear at auction, they always draw strong bidding. The market for these coins is not just strong, it's growing. As new collectors enter the hobby and discover the excitement of hunting for hidden treasures, so the next time you come across a 2001 penny, don't just toss it into a jar or spend it without looking. Take a closer look. Examine the inscriptions, check for unusual shapes, study the edges. You never know what you might find. A small clip, a dramatic off-center strike, or even a wrong planchet could turn that ordinary cent into a coin worth thousands of dollars. History has proven it again and again. Sometimes the smallest coins carry the biggest surprises. The 2001 penny is a reminder that value isn't always obvious. What looks ordinary on the surface may actually be extraordinary once you look closely. From minor errors worth a few dollars to dramatic mistakes that sell for over $10,000 at auction. These coins prove that the world of numismatics is full of hidden treasures. And perhaps the greatest treasure of all is the excitement of discovery. The knowledge that the next valuable coin might be sitting right there in your pocket change, waiting for you to notice it. The 2010 1-cent penny is one of those coins that at first seems too modern to hold any serious value. After all, it's not a coin from the early 1900s or the mid-20th century when minting practices were more prone to mistakes. By 2010, the US Mint had some of the most advanced technology in the world for producing coins, and it was striking billions of Lincoln cents every year with incredible precision. And yet, even in that modern era, errors happened. Some of those errors on the 2010 Lincoln cent have turned an ordinary penny into a small fortune for the lucky people who discovered them. It's a story that blends modern minting, human error, collector obsession, and the thrill of hidden treasure. To understand why the 2010 penny stands out, we have to look at what was happening with the Lincoln cent around that time. Just a year earlier, in 2009, the Mint had celebrated the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth with 4 special reverse designs showing scenes from his life. In 2010, a brand new reverse was introduced, one that would remain for the next decade. The Union Shield design by Lyndall Bass. This design replaced the Lincoln Memorial reverse that had been in use since 1959. The shield, with 13 vertical stripes and a horizontal bar bearing the inscription E Pluribus Unum, symbolized the strength and unity of the original states forming one nation. On the obverse, Victor David Brenner's classic portrait of Lincoln remained, tying together more than a century of history. Collectors were already paying attention to the 2010 penny because it marked the first full year of the Union Shield reverse. But what made the coin even more exciting was the discovery of error varieties. Errors have always been catnip for numismatists, and when they appear on a first-year issue of a major design change, their appeal skyrockets. On the 2010 penny, several error types were discovered, from dramatic double dies to striking mishaps that turned ordinary coins into rare collectibles. One of the most sought-after 2010 penny errors is the double die variety. On these coins, parts of the design, especially the lettering and numbers, appear doubled due to a misalignment during the hubbing process of die creation. While most modern double dies are faint, the 2010 varieties show noticeable doubling in areas like the date and parts of the motto, "In God We Trust." To collectors, that kind of doubling is a signal of rarity, and it creates huge demand. Another fascinating error found on 2010 cents is the off-center strike. These occur when the blank planchet is not properly seated in the coining press, resulting in a design that's struck off-center. Some off-center 2010 pennies show only 10 to 20% of the design missing, while others are more dramatic with half the design absent. The more dramatic the misstrike and the more complete the date visible, the higher the value climbs. A 2010 penny with a bold off-center strike has been known to sell for hundreds of dollars at auction. Then there are broad strike errors, where the retaining collar that normally keeps the coin's edge in shape is missing during striking. These coins come out wider and thinner than normal, giving them a unique appearance. Wrong planchet errors also exist. These are coins struck on blanks intended for other denominations. Imagine finding a 2010 penny that was struck on a dime planchet, with a silvery color and slightly smaller size. That's the kind of dramatic error that makes collectors' hearts race. But the real highlight is when these errors are combined with condition. A 2010 penny error found in circulation with scratches and wear might fetch $50 to $200 depending on the type. But a pristine, uncirculated error coin graded by a top service like PCGS or NGC can be worth much more. Auction records show that dramatic 2010 penny errors have sold for thousands of dollars, with some of the most eye-catching pieces selling in the $5,000 to $10,000 range. That's where the excitement really builds, when you realize a coin minted just a little over a decade ago could be worth as much as a used car, all because of a mistake. Stories of these coins popping up add to their mystique. One collector reported finding a 2010 double die penny while searching through a box of rolled coins from a bank. Another stumbled across an off-center 2010 penny in pocket change. For these individuals, what started as an ordinary day turned into a discovery worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That sense of possibility keeps people searching, sifting through jars, rolls, and bags of pennies in the hope of striking gold. Metaphorically, of course. Auction houses have amplified the fame of the 2010 penny errors. Headlines showcasing pennies selling for $5,000 or more grab attention, reminding the public that valuable treasures are hiding in the smallest corners of everyday life. It's not just about finding a rare coin. It's about the thrill of uncovering something overlooked by countless hands. Before you point, one example that illustrates this perfectly is a 2010 Lincoln cent error graded MS66 red with a dramatic off-center strike. At auction, it fetched nearly $6,000. The coin's rarity, pristine condition, and sheer eye appeal combined to create intense bidding. Another piece, a double die error, sold for around $4,000, again proving that collectors are willing to pay big money for these modern marvels. The cultural impact of the Lincoln cent adds another layer of significance. Abraham Lincoln is one of the most beloved figures in American history, and his image on the penny has made it the most recognized U.S. coin. Owning a rare or valuable Lincoln cent is more than owning a piece of copper-coated zinc. It's holding a piece of national history. The 2010 penny, with its Union Shield reverse, further symbolizes the ideals of unity and resilience, making error coins from this year especially symbolic treasures. But what does all this mean for you, the viewer or collector? It means that hidden value is out there, waiting to be found. It means that when you see a 2010 penny, you shouldn't just toss it aside as insignificant. Instead, hold it up to the light, examine the lettering, check the date, and look for signs of doubling, misstrikes, or unusual shapes. That little coin could be more than spare change. It could be a ticket to hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars. Think about it. A coin worth 1 cent potentially selling for $5,000, $8,000, or even $10,000 at auction. That's not just a good return, that's life-changing for some. And that's why collectors love errors like those on the 2010 penny. They represent the extraordinary hiding in the ordinary, the treasure waiting in plain sight. Even beyond money, though, there's something magical about finding an error coin. It's about holding a piece of history that's different from the billions of others made. It's about knowing that you've discovered something that only a handful of people will ever own. And it's about the story you can tell, the story of how a tiny mistake at the mint turned into a collectible worth more than its weight in gold. So, the next time you see a 2010 penny, don't overlook it. Give it a second look. Study the design, check the inscriptions, and don't be afraid to use a magnifying glass. That ordinary-looking coin in your hand could be an extraordinary treasure. The 2010 penny proves once again that even in modern times, when technology is advanced and precision is expected, human error still creeps in. And those errors, they're what make coin collecting exciting, valuable, and endlessly fascinating.